Welcome back to my podcast, Almost Angels. My name is Amber, and I wanted to wish a belated Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. I wanted to talk a bit about the labor of love that can come with starting something new. I thought on the heels of Mother's Day that this was an appropriate theme that has surfaced for me while starting this new podcast. It reminded me of those early days with a newborn when the amount of energy, it's shocking, I think, to most people who haven't done it before. But when my firstborn came into this world 12 years ago, the sleepless nights, the feedings, the diapers, she had very little colic, but there was enough. There was enough nights where I can only fathom, for I had friends whose babies had really severe colic, and it's really, really tiring. And all the things that just come up postpartum for moms, emotionally, mentally, it really brings up those shadow parts of ourselves. The fruit, the ROI, so to speak, of those seeds that are being planted in your children when they're itty bitty. I did co-sleeping, breastfeeding, baby wearing. I mean, high touch, high energy into my children. And there was a lot of choices where I had to really lean into my intuition and ask myself, like, what did I feel like was right for me at that moment and for this baby, right? Which has never been on this planet before. And I've never been a mother before. And there is a magic and a power into trusting that in our motherhood, but in all of our new things that we're starting, that it's new. It's not new and you're trying to do it like someone else did. It's new to you, and that means it's brand new. So in some ways you can take creative liberty with that. In other ways, it feels terrifying, right? But I didn't know, how this was, the fruit is in the pudding, I guess, and we shouldn't necessarily, it's not like a one-to-one thing that if we're good parents, our kids will turn out the way we want. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But it is hard to know, are we making a difference? Are the things that I'm doing, were they the quote unquote right choices? Is it all going to work out? Was I enough? All of those things. But my daughter, like I said, she's 12 now, and the dynamic in the relationship that her and I share, just the closeness, the vulnerability, the connection, this wisdom that exudes from this tiny person who hasn't been here that long, like it feels really beautiful. It feels like a harvest of sorts for me at this point where she's at. And I'll share a little photo of the day that she was born. I didn't know if she was gonna be a girl or boy. I really thought it was a boy. And out pops this beautiful 8 pound, 6 ounce little girl that is now the same height as me. And we went and got our hair done together today for her a spring concert that she's part of this evening. And she wanted her hair straightened, so we went and got our hair straightened together, and then went to her favorite Italian spot for lunch. And just capturing that moment in my heart, that memory of this little baby, to see the fruit of a relationship that I have steadily just continued to invest in and put into and lean into my intuition and take feedback. I took feedback from her and feedback from the boys. I did things a little differently. What worked with her did not work with them. And so, with my podcast, with anything that you might be starting, with a passion project, even a new relationship, a new job, there's a lot that you have to put in. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of taking feedback. There's a lot of, am I doing this right? But what there isn't a lot of is, oh yeah, this was right, and this is worth it, and all those things. It's hard to tell. But I just encourage you, when you're starting something new and you start to feel like maybe I want to give up, when we start to question ourselves and question, should we have even started, and start to pondering or potentially self-sabotaging and making up excuses to quit, I started to think about some of the things that helped me get through those early days of mothering. And that included diving into things that I was adept at to remind me that I can create with ease, and calling on friends or family to just listen and support me in those moments. Anything that builds connection with others and ourselves in those times can really help to be sort of a sure source of charging our battery when we know that we are working on something that might be draining it a lot. So leaning more into journaling, meditating, just sitting in the sun. I mean, the sun is so charging and energizing. Those are things that really have helped me to give back to myself and to fill my battery and to charge myself up so that I can continue to create out of a fullness, out of a wholeness, out of an overflow that I can sit here and share vulnerably and with presence and genuine joy rather than feeling when I go to record like it's a burden. I feel full of ideas. I feel filled with love. I feel rooted and grounded in myself and in my project and why I'm doing this. And then I'm able to take moments with my daughter and remind myself through the things that I've already invested time and time again in over the course of many years that the fruit will come. It might not look like what I expected it to. And remembering that that's okay too. It's not wasted, right? Rarely are our kids going to turn out how we quote unquote expected, but just really celebrating as they blossom, as they grow. Like I was part of that. I was part of that project. I my not giving up and my pouring my energy out. This is my energy going out into the universe. And the tenderness that I have developed with my daughter is multiplying tenfold because she is so tender with her little brothers. Not always, don't get me wrong, nor was I always tender with her, but she is so loving to them. She leans into her intuition, not just with them, but with herself. To have a 12-year-old who intuitively is able to recognize that something that I'm telling her to do or asking her to able to articulate why she feels like that isn't what she needs right now, but to tell me what she thinks is better, and for us to be able to have that conversation and to grow those muscles of the communication and the connection between us, but most importantly, that connection with herself and her ability to understand what she needs and her ability to be able to use her throat and her voice to say that out into the world, and for her to know that that has power has just been, it's major. It is just major to watch, and to watch her love her brothers like that, for them to have that example. So if you're in the early days of building something new, I just want to remind you that if it feels like some of the ways I'm describing, like if it feels draining, like it's not giving back and you're considering either giving up or how am I going to keep going on, or it just feels like a lot of work with no reward, you're not doing it wrong. You're just in the sacred, unseen part of the process. The root building, heart stretching, holy, sacred space of becoming. I just want to remind you and encourage you that your effort matters, even if the world hasn't quite caught up to the beauty that you're birthing. So keep tending, keep showing up, and take rest, not because you've earned it, not because you're enough, but because you're human, and that is enough. So thanks again for tuning in. I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you're building anything. I just love to chat, love to connect. And thanks so much again.